Funding for this edition of State of Affairs with Steve Adubato has been provided by the Turrell Fund, supporting Reimagine Childcare, MD Advantage Insurance Company, University Hospital, one goal, one passion, every patient, every time. PNC, Grow Up Great. Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, here when you need us most, now and always. Johnson & Johnson. NJM Insurance Group, serving New Jersey's drivers, homeowners, and business owners for more than 100 years. NJ Best, New Jersey's 529 College Savings Plan. And by IBEW Local 102, lighting the path, leading the way. Promotional support provided by NJ.com, keeping communities informed and connected. And by bestofnj.com, all New Jersey in one place.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. We kick off this program with State Senator Jon Bramnick from the 21st Legislative District, back by very popular demand. Good to see you, Senator.
Great to see you, Steve.
Listen, you are the funniest lawyer in New Jersey. You have a comedy act, but unfortunately, we're talking taxes. Nothing funny about that, Senator. So the governor says, Governor Murphy, recent budget address, we're taping toward the back end of March. He said, listen, we need to give some money back to taxpayers, including not just homeowners, but renters. How could you and the Republicans in the Senate and the Assembly possibly be against that?
Nobody's against it. You send me a check in the mail, I'll deposit it. The question becomes whether it should be the same old, where you mail back these so-called rebates, or do you continue with structural changes in New Jersey that Chris Christie started with the 2% cap? No, of course, I'm happy to take a
2% cap on local spending, correct? On local government spending.
Yes, but there should be a 2% cap on state spending as well. But that's for another day. The bottom line is the rebate, cool, interesting, political, not a structural change.
Hold on. So to be clear, what the governor is saying is that if you are a homeowner, and it's up to, give me the amount here, a homeowner is up to $250,000. Rebate would be a percentage of your property taxes up to $10,000. Renters making up to $100,000 will get direct payments up to $250, and over the next several years, those numbers go up. People are going to want that, Senator. You're saying, listen, we don't want to send you a check. The Republican plan in the Senate is to give rebate, is to give a tax credit.
Well, that's not my plan. I mean, there are others who have different plans.
What do you say we should do?
Well, two things. First, we should model after Florida with the homestead, meaning that your taxes stay pretty much stable until you sell a house. And when the young family comes in, now it goes up to market value. I've had that bill for a long time. It's a great idea. And in the meantime, cap state spending. And if you really want to lower property taxes, move 2% to 1%. The only reason we had a reduction in property taxes, I like Phil Murphy, but that's not why we had a reduction. We had a reduction because of the 2% cap. So let's work on structural issues. In the meantime, good, send a Christmas bonus out to everybody. Send them a little money. I have no problem with that.
So what about this? For years that I've been doing this program and you've been in government, we've been talking about the cost of local government. Local governments having their own fire department, their own police department, their own school system, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Alan Karcher, the late Speaker of the House, wrote a book called Municipal Madness. And he basically said there are too many localities. Senator, why don't we just finally acknowledge that some towns are too small to have their own and force mergers and consolidations of two little towns so you have one chief of police, one head of the fire department, one superintendent? Why all these small communities, and isn't that part of the reason for our massive property tax bills?
I think it's a small part, but I can tell you one thing. When it comes to schools, you want the local parents running the local schools. So if you start doing the John Cornzine approach where you do county schools, let me tell you, you don't want government far away from where you are. I think the one thing people are willing to pay for are their schools. So if in Westfield, you start making that a county district, you're going to have a problem. So first and foremost, make sure parents run their schools. Sure, we can do some mergers of some towns, but leave the schools alone. And we're heading in that direction, and that's going to be the kiss of death for this state. You start opening up county schools, you're going to have a problem.
Again, I'm not talking about county schools. I'm talking about two local communities who are very small merging together, not the county. That's different, Senator, isn't it?
But the taxes, okay, you're talking about taxes. Most of that money is for the schools. Most of those budgets, it's a small percentage for the municipalities. But yes, do you want to merge police and fire? Sure. I still think the biggest problem is when you have state government now spending $50 billion and that the budget since my friend Phil Murphy took over has gone up 30%. And now you blame the fact that Garwood and Westfield have a separate police department? I don't think so.
Senator, how much of New Jersey's largesse in terms of the amount of money the state has in the government coffers, how much of it is because the federal government has sent many billions of dollars to the state of New Jersey in connection with the COVID crisis?
Well, it's interesting. So we borrowed, or should I say the Murphy administration borrowed $4 billion. There's a lot of offline spending by the federal government. I understand that's a couple billion. And then revenues were up like $4 billion. Now, it's interesting, during this COVID-19 pandemic, all of a sudden there's a lot of money around. So I'm going to say there's about $8 billion more than we've had in the past. That's why it's time, really, we can make a dent in property taxes. We can really change things. But, you know, it's Trenton, same old, same old. Here we go.
Well, let me ask you this, switching gears. We've had many conversations, and you should check out our website. You'll see it up on the screen, steveadubato.org, several interviews with the senator who was previously in the lower house. Now he is. And the Assembly has 80 members. The Senate has 40 members. The senator is in the upper house now. So he's been with us for years, different interviews. And I keep asking the same thing I'm asking again. As you see the chyron on the screen, democracy at a crossroads, here's my question to you. To what degree is there any sense in Trenton first, and then your sense in Washington, any willingness and desire of Democrats and Republicans to actually work together and try to get things done on behalf of the people they serve, as opposed to making sure they do everything possible to beat the other party in the next election?
Well, it's such a great question, because I even listen to these cable stations where they scream at each other, right? So it looks, every time I say anything good about Joe Biden or anything good against Murphy, these Republicans, or let's say some of the crazy Republicans, come out and scream at me. So remember this, every time you do something that looks bipartisan, the wing of your party starts criticizing you. I've never been afraid of that. One of the biggest problems is the people in the middle, that's 70% of people in New Jersey, need to stick up for that kind of working together across the aisle. Remember, the people in the middle don't get on the internet. They don't get on social media. They don't say that's a good idea. It's normally the people who need psychiatric help from both wings of the party who criticize you. So it's a lot easier to stay in your corner, but it's really bad for America. Now, in New Jersey, we get along pretty well, right? At the federal government, it's a disaster, and I hear it all the time. And I think that's sad for democracy, and I hope it changes, I can tell you that.
Senator, I got a minute left. We've been involved in an initiative called Reimagine childcare for several years now, talking about the need, creating greater public awareness around affordability, quality childcare. How high a priority is this for you and in state government?
I think it's high for everybody. There's no denying that this is an important concept, and I think you're going to see bipartisan support for childcare and, you know, making sure kids get a good start.
So there's nothing partisan about quality and affordable childcare?
I hope not.
Yeah, we hope you are correct on that. Senator Jon Bramnick, I want to thank you so much for joining us once again. We appreciate it. I'm Steve Adubato. That's Senator Bramnick. We'll be right back.
To watch more State of Affairs with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
I thought Booth 47 was Lords of Triniton.
Lords of what?
Rick, it's the portal. Give her the password. Golden Unicorn.
Oh, the comic convention was last week.
What?
This is an insurance convention.
Some insurance companies are known for their mascots. NJM is known for outstanding service you can count on.
Do you cover chariots?
You could save up to 20% on your auto insurance with NJM, if that's what you mean.
It's a minivan. Her name is Pegasus, and she's your ride home. Okay.
Hi, I'm Joe Roth. In New Jersey, there are nearly 4,000 residents in need of a life-saving organ transplant, and one person dies every 3 days waiting for this gift of life. One organ and tissue donor can save 8 lives and enhance the lives of over 75 people. You have the power to make a difference and give hope. For information or to become an organ and tissue donor, visit www.njsharingnetwork.org and be sure to talk with your family and friends about this life-saving decision.
We're honored to be joined by State Senator Vin Gopal, a Democrat based in Monmouth County. He is the conference chair of the Democratic Party in the Senate and also the chair of the Senate Education Committee. Senator, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
As we're doing this program, there's actually a piece in NJ.com, Star Ledger. I go old school, print as well. It's about mental health issues, a crisis of mental health for our children. And it's written by Adam Clark. Check it out on NJ.com. You were just telling me before we got on the air that the Senate Education Committee just held a hearing on the mental health crisis with our kids. Talk about it, Senator.
Yeah, we had a great hearing over 2 hours. Christine Beyer, Commissioner of Children and Family Services, Amy Kennedy of the Kennedy Foundation, a lot of really good testimony. It's a crisis right now. Children over the last 2 years have lost a lot of normalcy. We don't know the damage it's going to do long term. And it's something that we need to collectively work and fund and make sure that folks, especially those under the 18, have immediate access.
Senator, let me follow up on a previous In a previous interview I did with you, you talked candidly about some of your own challenges and struggles with mental health. How important is it that public officials, prominent, successful public officials like yourself, talk openly about it so that we can, in fact, destigmatize mental health issues, particularly for our kids? Senator.
It's so important. And I've spoken openly on the Senate floor about my own struggles with depression. I think it's important for people to hear that you may have any challenge in life and it's not your fault, whether it's depression, anxiety. Sometimes people get alcoholism, substance abuse, and to get out of it takes a village, but the person that it has to start with is yourself. So I tell students and I tell folks, I said, listen, I'm leading a very productive life. I ran successfully for the state Senate twice. And I did that all while having some mental health challenges. So it's more common than we think. We're seeing early studies in schools, 1 out of every 6 kids are going to have some challenges. And we're not just talking about missing a prom or graduation, but not being in the classroom for a year, maybe seeing a sibling who had a different experience than you did. These are going to have a compounding impact. And we've seen a rise in substance abuse and alcoholism and a lot of other things during the pandemic. So it's important, but without a doubt, we got to break the stigma, especially in a lot of our immigrant communities where, they don't want to talk about mental health. That's a problem.
What kind of reaction? I know there are a whole range of issues we could be talking about, and we will do that in another segment, but I want to stay on this for a second. Senator, what kind of reaction have you gotten from most of your colleagues when you're so candid talking about your own experience and the need for not just policy change, but greater public awareness and government action helping those struggling with mental health issues, again, particularly our children? What kind of reaction have you gotten?
Positive. People come up, look, there's definitely a generational gap. Governor Cody has spoken very candidly and openly about his family's challenges. We've seen a lot of, other folks who've talking about alcoholism and other challenges they've had. But I think it's important for people to have honest conversations. It's no different than breaking an arm or a leg. This is science. You don't get depressed or anxious from something that's situational, that can affect it, but it's chemical. And I think that's important for people to understand, that it's nobody's fault. These things happen, just like any other medical challenge that any resident will face.
Follow up on this. You have, in fact, sponsored legislation that deals with telehealth. It actually, help us understand what this does. I believe it reimburses healthcare professionals around telehealth. Connect that with the exact issue we're talking about right now, which is telehealth around behavioral and mental health issues. People getting the help they need, in some cases, via telehealth. Please, Senator.
Sure. So this is extremely important. Telemedicine really took off during the pandemic, and so many mental health sessions, therapy sessions are done through telemedicine. Now, telemedicine may not make sense if you break an arm or break a leg, because a doctor might need to touch and feel. That's not the case on mental health. So we fought hard, bipartisan bill to make sure insurance companies reimbursed on telemedicine services. That was one piece. The other thing we did, Steve, last year, which I was proud, two things, is we expanded early intervention to all 21 counties, the largest funding increase the legislature ever put in, which means if somebody has a mental health crisis, they get immediate access to a therapist, immediate access to a psychiatrist if they need it. And the third thing we did, part of that package, was increase $5 million to the school link service programs, which is actually beginning the process of creating and expanding mental health programs in our school district. So we have a lot of work to do in the months and years ahead, but I think New Jersey's really made some incredible progress this past year.
I disclose a whole range of things, particularly whether someone's an underwriter or not, or a relationship I have. But in the spirit of trying to be consistent with what you've done and how you've provided a great public service by talking about your own issues, in terms of telehealth, I would be less than candid if I did not share that seeing a therapist largely in the last several years through telehealth has been very helpful for me. And I know I'm not alone. And so anything we can do, not just in government, but those in the media, to destigmatize some of the challenges that many of us face, it's our responsibility. So shifting gears, help us on this. In another segment, we're going to talk more about school funding, but I want to talk about an initiative at Monmouth University. You and former State Senator Joseph Carrillos, he's a Republican, you're a Democrat. You have come together with the folks at Monmouth University to do what? And what does that have to do, as we put the graphic up, democracy at a crossroads, with more civil public discourse? Senator Gopal?
Sure. And just really quick, Steve, that's incredible for you to be open and say that. And it's important for all of us in leadership positions to say, because it's important for everyone to hear. And I think that's how we continue to improve, so many lives here in New Jersey. We've seen a rapid decline in civil discourse over the last several years from both political parties. You go on Facebook and Twitter, people are fighting, they're yelling, they're screaming about masks and vaccines and everything else. And look, I talk about this. I go on Governor Murphy's Facebook page, and people aren't criticizing him on his policies. They're talking about his looks. They do this across, like they talk about his family. I just don't know how we've gotten to such a less humane place. And I really blame that partially on social media, but also partially on just a breakdown of structure, things we wouldn't have done, unfortunately, even 10 years ago. So Senator Carrillos, who's a former Republican state chairman, incredible guy, Republican nominee for U.S. Senate against Senator Menendez years ago, but really Republican trailblazers. We came together and we said, listen, we have to make the civil discourse and we have to show we can work together. So we held our first session, Monmouth University, the Office of the President, Department of Political Science, organized it. We're going to do 4 a year. We had hundreds of students tune in. We had Senate President Scutari and Senate Republican leader Steve Orho basically have an incredible conversation, how they have passionate, strong fights and disagreements with each other, but they're always able to respect each other as human beings, where they come from, and never make it personal. And I think that's what we need to bring society back. So I really hope what Monmouth University is doing becomes a model for every college across the country.
Senator, before I let you go, real quick, we have an initiative called Reimagine Childcare, talking about greater public awareness around affordability, quality, and quality childcare. Why is that such an important issue?
It's incredibly important. I mean, we know the early stages of a child as far as every type of development greatly impacts later in life and all elements of a child, social and emotional well-being, physical health, and everything else. So this is obviously extremely important, and it's something that we need to continue to focus on. And I know the last several governors have is really on early intervention, early support to make sure a child is successful.
That is State Senator Vin Gopal, who is the chair of the Senate Education Committee and the conference chair in the Democratic caucus in the Senate. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you so much.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
To watch more State of Affairs with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
I thought booth 47 was Lords of Triniton.
Lords of what?
Rick, it's the portal. Give her the password. Golden Unicorn.
Oh, the comic convention was last week.
What?
This is an insurance convention.
Some insurance companies are known for their mascots. NJM is known for outstanding service you can count on.
Do you cover chariots?
You could save up to 20% on your auto insurance with NJM, if that's what you mean.
It's a minivan. Her name is Pegasus, and she's your ride home. Okay.
Hi, I'm Joe Roth. In New Jersey, there are nearly 4,000 residents in need of a life-saving organ transplant, and one person dies every 3 days waiting for this gift of life. One organ and tissue donor can save 8 lives and enhance the lives of over 75 people. You have the power to make a difference and give hope. For information or to become an organ and tissue donor, visit www.njsharingnetwork.org and be sure to talk with your family and friends about this life-saving decision.
We're now joined by Amy Keefe, who is manager of Authorization and Family Services at the New Jersey Sharing Network. Good to see you, Amy.
Good to see you too.
We're going to put up the website for the Sharing Network. People who know us know that for a long time we've been involved in public awareness around organ and tissue donation. That's what the Sharing Network is involved in. Amy, your brother, Brad, tell us about Brad and how Brad's experience, Brad's situation impacted your commitment to this movement.
So my brother was 32-year-old male. He got into an accident in March of 2016. He suffered a traumatic brain injury. There was no survival. So at that point, the New Jersey Sharing Network came into our lives. They introduced themselves and explained to us that my brother had registered to be an organ and tissue donor on his driver's license and to save lives. We didn't know it, but we weren't surprised. Being the type of guy that he was, we knew that he would definitely want to do something amazing in his last moments. So having him, he donated his liver, kidneys, and tissue. From there, I was working as a nurse in the emergency department, and I was doing a lot of volunteer work with the network at the time for our 5K. And from there, I decided there was something different I needed to be doing. We met the team from New Jersey Sharing Network when we were bedside with my brother in the hospital. And they were by far the most caring, amazing, supportive people we had ever met. And that resonated with me. And I felt that at that time, I needed to be part of this team because I felt like every family should have the opportunity that my family had. And that was to be part of something amazing and to have the support of the Sharing Network for life, because that's what we do.
Well, first of all, your brother, Brad, sounds like he was an extraordinary young man, 32 years of age, gave the gift of life to so many others. What message, Amy, every time we've done a program, a segment connected to organ and tissue donation, I ask this question, and obviously it's personal for you, but what is the message as there are 110, if my math is wrong, you'll tell me, 110,000 Americans waiting for an organ, between 4,000 and 5,000, I'm not sure what the number is in New Jersey, but it's too many. What message would you want to share with everyone right now as they see the website, the website for the Sharing Network? What's the message with so many people waiting for an organ?
The message I have and the things that I see out in the field is talk to your family. Let them know your wishes. If saving lives and doing something amazing, being a hero in your last moments here on Earth, and there's so many people waiting and need organs. And if this is something you'd want to do, talk to your family. If you can register on our website. It's going to be for you to see, but you can not only register, but you can also register with Donate Life America. And you can also just speak to your family. If something was to happen to you, God forbid, your family would know what your wishes were. And it takes it off the plate, and it's less decisions that they have to make.
There are a disproportionate number, a higher number of people who are Black and brown who are let's just say, things are not equal in terms of the need. And also the response. And this is the question. What is the message that you would have for people in minority communities for whom organ donation is a huge issue?
So as far as, there's so much diversity in donation.
Right.
Everyone needs organs. This isn't, single to one specific group. So what I would say to anyone, including the African-American community, there's a lot of hypertension, there's a lot of diabetes, there's a lot of kidney disease, and if you're thinking that, this might affect someone in your family, in your group, in your church, your community, register as a donor, because you never know. And what they say about karma, Steve.
Yeah, I know what it is. But also, real quick, but Amy, on this, if I'm wrong again, tell me that organ donation is not based on color, meaning someone who happens to be Caucasian could say, I want, because on my license, that's what it says. It doesn't matter who it goes to.
No, it does not.
Anyone.
No, my brother is being Caucasian. I know his organs didn't necessarily go to someone who's Caucasian. We've had written correspondence with them. This is what I do know. I do know that they were able to walk their daughter down the aisle because my brother saved their life, no matter what race, religion, or whatever it is. Across the board, people are in need of organs.
What did that mean to you and your family?
We always knew that my brother saved lives. It never really, it wasn't too big of a thing for us to have to meet them necessarily, but when the recipients wrote us to thank us for the gift that he gave and to tell us that, one of them could fish with his grandson and the other one was able to walk his daughter down the aisle, those things just solidify the decision that my brother made. And it definitely solidified the decision that I would make to be a donor from there.
Amy Keefe is manager of Authorization and Family Services at New Jersey Sharing Network, one of our longtime underwriters and partners in the effort to create greater public awareness around organ and tissue donation. Amy, thank you so much. You're, like I said, an amazing brother who gave the gift of life to so many others. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Adubato. More importantly, that is Amy Keefe. We'll see you next time.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by the Turrell Fund, supporting Reimagine Childcare, MD Advantage Insurance Company, University Hospital, PNC, Grow Up Great, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Johnson & Johnson, NJM Insurance Group, NJ Best, New Jersey's 529 College Savings Plan, IBEW Local 102, and by these public-spirited organizations, individuals, and associations committed to informing New Jersey citizens about the important issues facing the Garden State. And by Employers Association of New Jersey. Promotional support provided by NJ.com and by bestofNJ.com.
I thought Booth 47 was Lords of Triniton.
Lords of what?
Rick, it's the portal. Give her the password. Golden Unicorn.
Oh, the comic convention was last week.
What?
This is an insurance convention.
Some insurance companies are known for their mascots. NJM is known for outstanding service you can count on.
Do you cover chariots?
You could save up to 20% on your auto insurance with NJM, if that's what you mean.
It's a minivan. Her name is Pegasus, and she's your ride home. Okay.
Hi, I'm Joe Roth. In New Jersey, there are nearly 4,000 residents in need of a life-saving organ transplant, and one person dies every 3 days waiting for this gift of life. One organ and tissue donor can save 8 lives and enhance the lives of over 75 people. You have the power to make a difference and give hope. For information or to become an organ and tissue donor, visit www.njsharingnetwork.org and be sure to talk with your family and friends about this life-saving decision.